Remember when heavy metal ruled our lives? When great albums and great concerts came out every month?
Yeah, the 80s.
Well, it's time to look back at those days, so take out your old vinyl
And cassettes.
put on your denim jacket.
And raise your fists in the air.
It's time for the 80s Metal Hang, a classic heavy metal podcast.
Oh, yeah.
On this week's episode, Manowar puts on the loincloths for a glory ride. Suicidal Tendencies released their debut, and Metallica starts building their metal militia with Kill 'Em All, their debut album. Also, Lita Ford, Coney Hatch, and more on the 80s Metal Hang. Welcome to this week's show. I'm Rob.
I'm Craig.
And what happens when two guys who met in the 80s go all the way back in time to talk about music? What does it end up becoming?
This is what it ends up becoming.
The 80s Metal Hang.
Yes.
So I giggled my way through the beginning of that.
You have to.
But yeah, it was hard to say with a straight face that Manowar puts on their loincloths for a glory ride. But
They literally did.
they literally did, because their second album, Into Glory Ride, was released July of 1983, that we are talking about this week on our Metal Hang podcast. And big Manowar guy, were you?
Hard to say. Kind of. They were introduced to me by a mutual friend of ours again. We mentioned a few episodes now.
Who?
Scott.
Oh, okay. This is the third episode we've mentioned, and if he doesn't say it back to us, you know what that means?
He's not listening.
He's not listening. He's lying to us.
Scott, are you listening? Prove it to us.
Yes.
Anyway, he was in a different school than Rob and I went to, and he always knew of all these crazy, obscure bands. Like, he told me about Manowar, and he had like a Venom jacket and all this stuff. I mean, who knew this stuff back then? I think he always went to Record Stop because he lived near there, and he knew all these bands, and I never heard of them. We were in a different school again, and we were sheltered. But he's the one who taught me about Manowar.
Taught you about Manowar, and he probably taught you that, you know, you had to avoid false metal.
Yes, death to all false metal.
Death to false metal, which it said on the back cover of this album,
Whatever
Into
that
Glory
means.
Ride, which is Manowar's second album. I never got Manowar.
The first album was called Battle Hymns, and they were actually dropped because they didn't really know how to market them. They didn't know if they should take them seriously or not. But luckily for Manowar, being the metal warriors they are, they forged ahead, and they made it, and they actually became metal icons.
They did, and they've gone through some member changes over the years, but this lineup, Eric Adams, Joey DeMeo, Ross the Boss, and Scott Columbus on drums, was the lineup for their, I don't know if you would call it the most successful period, but the period that we're talking about and when we were younger in 83. Joey DeMeo was not just the bass player; he was like the
head honcho, kind of
the leader, kind of the band,
Warlord.
And his bass playing definitely like stood out. You have songs with actual bass solos.
Yeah.
What's the second song on this album?
I don't remember.
Secret Steel. There's actually like a bass solo at the very beginning, but other songs on this album: Warlord and Gloves of Metal.
The lyrics of Gloves of Metal. I'm driving in the car, and I was laughing at something because it's so over the top metal. I mean, if you like this stuff, then it's great. I mean, it's good. It's great for what it is.
I think we've had 2 or 3 albums that have portrayed like heavy metal gloves, like fists with gloves on them. You know, the Saxon album, the guy holding the switchblade on the Exciter album cover.
Fistful of Metal. Anthrax.
The year after this, Anthrax is going to have a gloved metal fist going through someone's face, coming out of someone's face.
And we're going to talk about Metallica. The original album cover was supposed to be a fist with a dagger.
With a dagger coming out of a
We'll get to that.
toilet or something, which we'll get to in this episode, actually. So Manowar, I mean, if you're into this kind of thing, they basically never changed. I mean, you see them in the 2020s, and they, despite having a couple different members, they're still dressing the way that they're dressing. And what would you call it? Like Vikings, like loincloths?
Conan, a barbarian type of...
Oh, yeah.
They dress in the loincloths, and they have the swords and the battle axes, and which is weird because, I mean, like, their whole shtick was about people being posers and don't be false. And I mean, I don't remember them going into war with axes and killing people. So, I mean,
And it's strangely like, despite their death to false metal, like you said, this is not as heavy as like the Exciter album we talked about last week, or, like we're going to talk about Kill 'Em All in a few minutes. And, this pales a comparison to that as far as metal is concerned.
it's not really your typical thrash or speed or really, really heavy. You have to be into that style of music and get past some of the lyrics unless you're really into Dungeons and Dragons and stuff.
And I think I've mentioned this before, thinking about, do I like it now? Would I have liked it when I was 13? I knew of Manowar when I was 13, and I knew of this album, and it just never resonated with me. I don't know why.
I remember trying hard to like it because I thought it was like so obscure and cool. Again, because we didn't know these bands, and I didn't mind it. But some of it was just like later, like everyone used to sing "Kill with Power." I just thought that was kind of dumb.
Kill with power. Die.
It was just weird. Like, it wasn't my thing.
Right. But it was the thing for a lot of people, especially over in Europe. You would see them playing like in Greece and Germany to, tens of thousands of people. And most of their touring over the last 20 years, what little they've done has all been over there across the ocean.
And they still have a huge following worldwide. So...
And sadly, Ross the Boss, their guitar player, passed away this year. We'll probably talk about him more in future episodes, but he was a New York area guy, and did a lot of musical stuff in our tri-state area in recent years.
And it's like we said, their image and everything, they were very extreme type of band. They did everything in extremes, like with the over-the-top metal, the over-the-top lyrics. They broke a world record. They had a 5-hour concert in Bulgaria. They had the loudest concerts, and then they re-broke that world record.
5 hours is a long time.
Yes.
My favorite bands, I don't know if I could sit more than 3 hours for any band. But Manowar, like you said, does it to extremes.
And I remember Judas Priest. We'd see them, and sometimes they kept coming off encores, and we were like, "Oh my God, he didn't even come out on the motorcycle yet."
I saw Metallica like on the Black Album tour, and they played about 3 hours, and by the end they were jamming, and like James Hetfield was behind the drums, and I remember looking and thinking to myself, like, "Okay, guys, time to wrap it up. I got to go home." I looked at my swatch, and I said,
we have to get up for school tomorrow.
I have to go to school. I have to go to work. All right, so Manowar. Upstate New York. We mentioned a lot of upstate New York, really, with the Rods and Dio.
Yeah. One question about I wonder, like, as I was listening to this, they have the song "Secrets of Steel," and I'm thinking Conan the Barbarian came out a year before this, and the whole thing about that movie was the Riddle of Steel.
Oh,
and I was like, I wonder if it was influenced by that, or
yeah,
the Riddle of Steel.
Yes. We'll have to interview Joey DeMeo and Eric Adams someday.
and Thulsa Doom.
And hopefully they don't hear us.
I know they're going to come beat us up.
Less enthusiastic about their second album. But so that's Manowar, and the album that shocked, like when I was looking up like what albums came out different months, and Craig and I made lists and broke them up by months. I thought I was mistaken when it said Suicidal Tendencies. Like I was like 83. Oh, that seems so
like it was not that
early. Yeah. It was just like, I don't know. They seemed more like late 80s to me. And the reason for that is they sound like no one else sounded at that time. Like if you played that album, the self-titled debut album from Suicidal Tendencies, it's like nothing else.
Yeah, it was that time where it was kind of a crossover with punk and thrash, I guess. I guess I started kind of mixing, and Anthrax was into all this type of music. They were always like spouting all these bands that we never heard of. But yeah, it was definitely weird and different.
Yeah, they. You just said like, would you say crossover? I forget what you just said.
Yeah, it's kind of like
because
that.
I looked at 3 different articles this week about this album, and one called them a metal band, one called them a crossover thrash band, one called them a hardcore band. Like
what are they?
They literally were hard to define, and I don't know why I said literally hard to define, but they were hard to define. So Mike Muir, he's the person most recognizable as being in Suicidal Tendencies with his bandana on. He's the only guy who's been in the band the entire time from this first album. This is a time, bands like DRI, and Agnostic Front, like those kind of bands are all
Corrosion of
coming about.
Conformity.
Yeah, it's another band. You forget how long they've been around too. They were back then. But it's definitely before I wrote in my notes before its time, listening to it again. And we used to get a kick when we were kids listening to the famous song Institutionalized off the album. Was all I wanted was a Pepsi, that whole thing.
That's like a famous quote now. They talk about Pepsi. It's just, you come up to
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't get a Pepsi commercial out of this.
some type of endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, it said Michael Jackson got it and then got set on fire.
Smells like hot dogs.
Life's so unfair.
But all I wanted was a Pepsi. Just the spoken word aspect of it, how the tempo changes and speeds up. Like a lot of their songs are not so much crazy time signatures, but like tempo changes all the time. And
I remember that Institutionalized. It's such a weird song because what made them think to do this? It's just basically the song is like a jam. Yeah. Like the guitar player's playing this cool solo, and he's just talking over it about his life's problems.
And he's just staring at the wall, and his mother comes in. And, you're on drugs. Just give me, what was a Pepsi?
Well, just give me a Pepsi.
And we just got such a kick out of it when we were younger. And
I still love the song.
I listened to it. It was so fun listening to this album this week, trying to think about to say about it in this episode. But there's that cool little drum intro before Institutionalized. The song Subliminal was another song. And
I Saw Your Mommy.
It's just, the lyrics are great. I mean, you could see why parents might have had a problem with some of the songs and the subject matter and the language and all that. But it's just fantastic. And that's probably what drew us to it. When we were younger. It was so different and a little bit R-rated, I guess.
And you listen to the music, and you can almost imagine the concert. It was so fast and so heavy, and you could picture. I
saw them a couple of times.
People moshing and running around. So much energy and just bedlam.
Yeah, I saw them open for Metallica, I think. I saw them open for Queensryche, which is a weird combo.
Why? That's odd.
And just seeing a band like Suicidal Tendencies in an arena was something. And I remember they played locally at this bar we keep mentioning, Sundance. And I remember I didn't go when someone telling me the next day that the singer, Mike Muir, just knocked the guy out, punched him right in the face. Like some guy came up on stage, or he was trying to get off stage, and he just knocked the guy out, just punched him right in the face, which probably wasn't a rare occurrence at a Suicidal Tendencies show.
That reminds me, we spoke about Lemmy last time at Motorhead. I saw Motorhead at Sundance, and I remember, if I remember right, someone in the front row was grabbing his legs, and he just kicked the guy in the face. He just get off of me. And I was like, all right, he deserved it.
Yeah. Up close and personal days of rock and roll when you could get punched or kicked by the artist. I miss those days.
Picture Suicidal Tendencies in a small venue, like
people
back in
running
the
around,
beginning,
jumping off.
Oh my God, it must have been amazing.
Yeah, and the original lineup for this band, it was Mike Muir, Grant Estes, Luigi Magora, and Amory Smith on drums. Hope I pronounced those right. I probably didn't. But a lot of people have gone through Suicidal Tendencies over the years. Rocky George, Rob Trujillo on bass for a while, who's obviously in Metallica now. His son is the current bass player of Suicidal Tendencies. And they have a lot of drummers go through the band. Dave Lombardo played with them for a while. Josh Freese, Jimmy DeGrasso, Jay Weinberg. So great band. I'm actually going to listen to them more because of listening to this album this week. They have 14 albums.
Wow. It's a fun album. It is. You put it on in the car, you're going to start driving faster.
And it starts like with an ending. It starts with like just noise and him screaming at the beginning.
It's kind of like the music is just kind of like, we don't care.
And that's what's so great about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like right in your face. Like, we're going to do what we want to do.
We're going to do what we want to do.
We're not going to take it. Oh, wait. No,
someone's going to use that title, I bet. All right, so that's Suicidal Tendencies. Check it out, that first album. I think even people, like kids today into heavy music, would get a kick out of that album.
I think so.
Instead of going back for all the classics that we love, I think more people need to go back to the classic Suicidal Tendencies.
And in your research, was he ever really in a gang?
I don't know.
It was there was a whole controversy. Oh, he's gang affiliation. I don't, whatever. And he wore the blue bandana, so people like, oh.
He knew how to punch people. I know that. All right, cool. So leaving California, where Suicidal Tendencies was from, we're going to go up to Canada. And there's a band called Coney Hatch that their second album, Out of Hand, came out in July of 83. They had 3 albums in the 80s. I throw them in here because I saw them open for Iron Maiden. So I think that gives them a little bit of hard rock, heavy metal credibility.
I don't know anything about them.
Yeah, the albums, I mean, they had 3 albums because they didn't really set the world on fire, but they've had some reunions since then. Like I said, they toured with Iron Maiden, and they did some opening for Judas Priest also. Their most known member is probably this guy, Andy Curran, who was the bass player and sometime lead vocalist. He went on to work for Rush, believe it or not. He worked for Rush's management company, and then recently formed a band called Envy of None, which included Alex Lifeson. So he did some musical projects recently with Alex Lifeson, some reunion shows with Coney Hatch, but just kind of basic hard rock, nothing really that outstanding. But
back when I heard of them, I didn't know anything about them, as I said. I thought the name was very strange. And later on, I'd find out that it was named after, I don't want to say a popular, maybe a notorious mental institution over in England.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was supposedly really bad and really just bad. I mean, they all were bad back then, but if I remember right.
Kind of a depressing thing to...
I guess I thought it was metal, like...
Yeah, they weren't that metal, but I did, like I said, I saw them later in 83 opening for Maiden. But yeah, so Out of Hand, they had that in 83. They had another album in 85 and then took a big break until the 2000s, had a couple of reunions. The single off this album, I don't know.
They had a single?
I don't know. I'm looking at the song titles and nothing really jumps out. But that was Coney Hatch. Another, we've mentioned a decent amount of Canadian bands these first few episodes, whether the biggest Triumph and Rush or even band like Exciter. Now we have Coney Hatch, and we have a female making it into our episode this week.
Does she have blonde hair?
She does.
Did she stand in front of a giant spider web?
On the album cover, yes, she did.
And did she once run away?
Are you talking about Lita Ford?
Yes, Lita Ford, previously of the Runaways, the famous 1970s all-girl band, where she joined at 16.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good pedigree.
Yeah, and they had Sherry Curry in the band, and of course, Joan Jett.
Yeah, little baby Joan Jett, like I said one episode before. They were good. I love, actually, the Runaways.
They broke up in like the late 70s, 79 or something, and I didn't look up. I don't know the exact years that Joan Jett came out with her albums, but she came out with her albums before 83, right? Like I Love Rock and Roll, that was like 81, 82, right?
Yeah.
Crimson and Clover and all that.
I remember I was still in karate classes then, so it had to have been like 6th grade for me or something, so I don't know.
What, were you like practicing karate to the sounds of Joan Jett?
No, there was a demo team I was a part of, and I remember we were doing this thing in a roller skating rink, and they were playing I Love Rock and Roll over the sound system. So that's how I remember. So it's got to be around that area before.
So you're doing karate in a roller rink to the sounds of Joan Jett. This sounds like a Cobra Kai episode.
it could have been. I didn't sweep any
Was
legs.
Ralph Macchio there?
No, they played it while people were skating around, but we had this like music, and we had to do all this katas and fake fighting and all that crap.
It's funny. You're unlocking memory. I used to go to roller rinks sometimes too. That was a thing back then.
It was.
They put on like rock. They'd have like rock night, and they put on rock music, and you'd roller skate around. And
yeah.
I remember one time going there, and like the local radio station was giving out bump stickers, and I put the bump sticker on the back of my shirt. Thought I was so cool.
That was cool.
Just roller skating around to like the latest Billy Squier song.
Skate at your own risk signs all over the place.
Exactly. People falling.
And it had a dance floor in the middle, like Saturday Night Fever, all the light up tiles.
Oh wow, that's classic.
I want to go to one now.
Yeah, I know. There probably is. There was one still open on Long Island somewhere in Nassau County.
I don't know.
But
anyway,
as we get whimsical about our roller rink memories, Lita Ford. Lita Ford is now the second member of the Runaways to come out with a solo album after Joan Jett's success. She was signed to Mercury Records in 1982, and Lita Ford in July. Are we in July? July of 83, comes out with her Out for Blood album.
it didn't do so well, the first one. I mentioned the Spiderweb album cover, but they had two. Then it came out with her just like with a purple backdrop or something.
And to be honest with you, listening to this album, it's really not that.
It's not that good.
It's not that well. Besides that, it's not any heavier than Joan Jett. Really, it's really just a rock album. The metal part is like the marketing. Really, like she's standing like scantily clad in front of a giant like spider web. So I think she was kind of being marketed into this.
The hairspray up in the sky.
Right. So she comes out with this album in 83. Again, the title track is the only song that I kind of recognized. She did very little touring. A lot of it was in the UK where the Runaways were very famous. And, not until Dancing on the Edge, her next album in 84, did she start to get successful and then really successful by like 87, 88. But Lita Ford became like she's like a mainstay,
an icon
in hard rock magazines, heavy metal magazines. She obviously, besides the music, had a certain appeal to 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old boys like ourselves.
Yes.
So I actually met her once or twice. Back in the day with record signings or shows that she played locally. And she, still around. We mentioned how a lot of these bands find a new life on Monsters of Rock cruises and festivals, and you could still find Lita Ford out there doing it.
Yeah, she really blew up on her later albums. She did that duet with Ozzy.
Yeah, Close My Eyes
Close
Forever.
My Eyes, yeah. And that's like still, I think, her biggest song.
Oh, yeah.
She could retire after that song. And it's funny, you say the cruises. All of our friends basically are musicians. And so you go on Facebook or something, and everyone's always posting pictures of Monster of Rock cruise or this festival. And there's always like Lita Ford pictures and all these other bands from the past. You're like, wow, they're still around. It's kind of cool, though.
Yeah. And she had, they would play up dating history that she had, whether she was, dating Nikki Sixx or Tony Iommi. And so she had, that aspect always mentioned in her career. And there wasn't a lot of female artists in hard rock back then, so it was nice to see her get success and still have it.
Yeah, she definitely opened the doors. There wasn't, like you say, there weren't a lot of female rockers out there. We said Lee Aaron or if you want to say Pat Benatar, I guess, but
she was
not really
rock.
metal, but she was rock and roll.
Actually, women were actually doing really well in straight up rock, whether it was hard, Pat Benatar, Fleetwood Mac,
Linda Ronstadt.
Linda Ronstadt. Was she a rocker?
I don't know, but she came into my head.
You're so vain.
That was Carly Simon.
Was that really?
Yeah.
Jeez, how embarrassing. The host of a metal podcast doesn't know the difference between Linda Ronstadt and Carly Simon.
They're neither of them metal, so you're okay.
Okay. All
They'll
right.
forgive.
All right. If this was a yacht rock podcast, I'd never be forgiven for that.
Yeah, you're not false metal. Don't worry about it.
Death to false yacht rock. Someone who is not false metal, though, is the band we're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about.
They are the farthest thing from false metal.
In July of 1983, the first Metallica album, Kill 'Em All, is unleashed onto the world.
And you could literally say the world of music changed.
100% did. And I think most of our episodes so far, we've talked about them because very quickly, they found Cliff Burton at the early 83. They get signed. They drive across the country with Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine gets kicked out. They get Kirk Hammett. They start playing some shows in the New York, New Jersey area. And then upstate New York and Rochester start recording their first album for Megaforce Records, Kill 'Em All. I don't know where to start.
Oh, man. I don't know. When that came out, I'm not sure if I knew of them or they were like kind of like they were like vaguely on my mind because of the Metal Shop show we listened to. So I didn't really discover Metallica until really the next record when I heard Fight Fire with Fire, and I was like, what is going on? But
yeah, same with me. And I found, because you found out about them with Ride the Lightning and brought that album to my house.
You hated it.
And I did not get it. I think I remember, though, hearing Hit the Lights just because of that, again, that beginning that's like an ending. So for some reason, that might be the first song. I don't know if it's the first song I heard from Metallica, but the first song I heard from this album. But it changed everything. I mean, it's the beginning of what would become the biggest. I mean, they're the biggest hard rock heavy metal band of all time, and it's really good.
yeah, it's
Again, with albums like this, we don't listen to them anymore. Like I don't sit down and listen to an entire Metallica Kill 'Em All album anymore, but I did for this episode, and it's just one classic song,
Yes.
classic riff after another.
And with Metallica, when their albums came out, you could hear the maturity. Like every album sounds better. It's more polished, more mature, more technical. So this one was more loose. It was like almost punk or hardcore, and it wasn't as tight as some of the later albums. It wasn't recorded as well as some of the later albums, but that is what makes it great.
Yeah, they didn't have the recording budget. The studio in Rochester maybe wasn't as good as what they would end up using for the next few albums over in Denmark.
But that's what made it sound great. It was so raw
Yeah.
and so just, I don't know.
The vocals, he didn't really know how to sing just yet, I guess, and they're very reverby, and they're almost like too behind the music sometimes.
The mixes are a little off, like the solo is a little too loud, but
I mean, from Hit the Lights, and then like, okay, maybe a typical metal song, you hear it, the lyrics, whatever, but then right after that, right to the Four Horsemen, and then Motor Breath, Jump in the Fire, just all the riffs that start these songs. And then, hey, brand new band, let's have the fourth song on side one be a bass solo,
Yeah, it's...
Fifth song.
I have to say that's the one song I skip.
It was just a weird choice, to have, we talked, so many albums had their kind of eruptions, Mental Health had that song Battle Axe, and like a lot of bands had little guitar solos, but to have a bass solo leading into Whiplash, and then we have the rest of the album, Phantom Lord, No Remorse, Seek and Destroy, Metal Militia. I was trying to think what the most iconic riff is on here. I think it's Seek and Destroy.
I think Seek and Destroy.
Yeah. Metal Militia, Phantom Lord, and there's history with these songs, some of them co-written by Dave Mustaine, and Dave Mustaine took the song Four Horsemen and made it a song on his Megadeth's first album. They called it the Mechanics.
It's faster, though.
Yeah. Some of the lyrics were... Dave Mustaine actually wrote some lyrics, but James Hetfield changed those lyrics once Dave Mustaine left the band. So a couple of the songs found new titles. Some of them go way back to even before Cliff. So, I mean, the cover, again, we talk a lot about covers of heavy metal albums.
Yeah. That was Cliff's concept.
Yeah, concept of just a puddle of blood on the floor.
Yeah, the new guy, and they're like, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's do a hammer with a puddle of blood.
Yeah, so Metallica Kill 'Em All, I mean, what do they even mean by that? Kill 'em all? Kill 'em all with your music? Kill 'em all with metal? Or they really want you to go out and kill people? Or
I think it was something like Cliff, they were having problems with record companies or something, and Cliff was like, something, what was the quote? I can't believe it. I can't remember it. Something about these record companies kill them all.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. We can't curse. This is a G-rated thing. We'll get in trouble.
Kill them all, let God sort them out kind of thing.
I actually wrote the quote down, but now I can't find it. But
these songs also just have life still, 30, 40 years later, because Metallica is pretty good at, mixing up set lists and always playing songs from their catalog. So these songs are all songs that have most likely been played, this century numerous times. Obviously, Seek and Destroy, some of them are always in Metallica's set list. But, this was a sign of things to come. This is the lineup that would obviously do the first three albums. Go on to do Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, and sadly we all know what happened to Cliff. But I mean, it's I don't even, sometimes these albums come up, or whether it was Holy Diver or Peace of Mind, like there's just so much to say about it. I almost don't know what to say about it.
Where to begin, where to end. I mean, I love the drums on this. I mean, I do like Lars' style of playing. I love his fills. People,
not a lot of people
say that, but
hey, it was this album that influenced a lot of other people to play, a lot of bands that were already formed to start playing faster. So his technical prowess maybe isn't there as much, but,
like I love the fills in Whiplash. It's just cool, the toms and everything.
Yeah. The intro to Motor Breath's a little like sloppy, that thing. He's not really smooth with that, but again, I mean, you look at some bands that were recording and playing before this, and when this came out, those bands changed the way that they played. They tried to play faster like Lars was playing. They tried to play the rhythms the way that James Hetfield wrote them on this album. So there's really, and it's strange to think because it didn't sell that much. I mean, it was an independent record label. They didn't even reach like 100,000 sales, I don't think, the first year. Obviously, it ends up going platinum because of Metallica's later success. I think, like, you know, by the late 80s.
It went 4-time platinum.
4 times, jeez.
I don't know how you'd say that, but yeah. And yeah, the initial pressing was
quadruple?
Yeah, quadruple. Yeah, there you go. The initial pressing was like 15,000 copies, and they had to do it in batches of 500. No one had the money.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at that, and you look at now, and you could say they are the biggest band in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Not even rock band, just the biggest band on the planet. I mean, who would have thought that when you're listening to Whiplash and you listen and you see a Bloody Hammer album cover and 15,000 record run? It's crazy.
And a lot of people might say, oh, because they sold out or because they just had better management or whatever. But the simple fact is, of all the new bands coming out with their first album in 1983, I mean, this is the best one. I mean, you know, when you think about independent metal albums, you know, we've no disrespect, but we've talked about, you know, the Rods. We talked about bands like Exciter, you know, Manowar. This is better than all of them. I mean, there's a reason why they became what they became. Now, if their next couple albums were stinkers, we probably would be talking about this a lot less. But, you know, obviously...
It kept getting better and better,
getting better and better. And, you know, whether you think they sold out in the 90s or whatever, there's no denying that this album deserves its place in heavy metal history.
And in thrash. This is like Slayer. They said they were influenced by the playing and all these bands. And you go back to the Bay Area and the thrash metal explosion. There's a movie called Murder in the Front Row. And it's about the whole thrash explosion up like with Exodus and
like Forbidden,
Death,
Legacy that became Testament.
Yeah, all these bands, and it's like Metallica was there right at the birth. I don't know if I could say they started it, but they were definitely big ones.
Yeah, like other areas, whether it was the LA hair metal scene or the Seattle grunge scene later on, you know, there are those 3 or 4, you know, the big 4 bands that kind of, you know, define a genre or start a genre, and Metallica is definitely that. And they actually go on to tour right after this album comes out in July of '83. They start doing shows with Raven, another metal band, and the tour was called Kill 'Em All for One, because Raven had an album called All for One, so Kill 'Em All for One. They put them both together. And Craig and I, we talked about this. They were in New York, like they were in the New York, New Jersey area. They became tight with the guys in Anthrax. They recorded upstate. And when they did their first batch of shows, I found this out a couple of years ago, but Craig and I just recently saw, you know, more proof of it, that they actually played in a bar.
Cheers, right?
Right when Kill 'Em All came out, like 5 miles from our house, 10 miles from our house. And it's just weird to think of a band that big playing at a little bar by our house, and we had no idea at the time, obviously.
I had heard about that, but I always thought it was kind of like hearsay.
Yeah.
Until Rob looked it up, and no, it really happened.
Yeah, we found, like, you know, Metallica history sites and their tour date history, and there it is. It says Cheers in Deer Park, New York, or some people said it was North Babylon. But
and of course, they played Lemore's in Brooklyn. I mean, who didn't at that time?
Yeah, and they just grew from there. Now, if you want to see them, it's multiple nights at a football stadium somewhere.
Amazing. Who'd have thought?
Who would have thought?
Who'd have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it? But in July of 1983, history was being made in heavy metal.
I think they wanted to call the album Metal Up Your... We're trying to keep it G-rated. And it was a picture of a toilet bowl with a hand coming out of it holding a dagger. And for some strange reason, the record company didn't think that would be good.
But then they jumped all over that logo for T-shirts.
Yes.
And made tons of money off a T-shirt. And of course, people were probably drawn to the fact that this was their original album cover, but it was banned. But now I have it on a T-shirt.
I actually had that shirt.
Did you?
Yeah, I think
I remember that.
The front was a skeleton in an electric chair getting shocked. And on the back was that, and it said,
the
Metal
toilet,
Up Your...
The toilet and the dagger.
The plumbing issue.
we talk about festivals a lot, big festivals, and Metallica took part in a few of these. They were called the Day on the Green Festival, and they usually happened every July. And Metallica made those shows more metal. They were held in Oakland, California, at the Oakland Coliseum, the outdoor baseball stadium / football stadium. And in July of 1983, the lineup wasn't very metal, but it was Night Ranger Bryan Adams, Eddie Money, Triumph, and Journey. Again, Triumph seems to be at every big festival in 1983. We've talked about them since our first episode of January 83. But these Day in the Green festivals would get heavier and heavier as heavy metal's popularity grew. And just in a couple of years, Metallica would be playing there in that stadium on the Lightning Tour. Yeah.
And do you remember where you were when you heard that Cliff had died? I still remember hearing it.
I think I heard it on our local metal show.
Yes, it was Metal Shop, and the guy who hosted it, his name was Fingers. And I mean, he sounded really kind of like down about it. He's like, oh, I got news. I forget what he said, but it was like, it was this big thing.
Yeah.
It was like, we found out they were overseas and touring, and the bus slid off the road in the ice, and terrible.
Yeah, and it was like probably a day or almost 2 days after it happened. This is before the 24/7 news cycle, and Metallica wasn't so big that it would be in the first few pages of the newspaper. It would be like on page 20 or something. Yeah. And if we didn't see the paper that day, we wouldn't have known for weeks maybe. But Fingers, the host of our local Metal Shop show, which I'm sure a lot of you had in different cities around the country, he was like
he was our go-to guy for news.
So yeah, I was with our mutual friend George, and I was trying to get him to like Metallica, because the same way you got me to like them, now I'm totally in on Metallica. It's Master of Puppets, and we see them over for Ozzy and all that. And that night I was telling him, and I was playing him Master of Puppets, and then we went and put the radio show on, and heard that he died.
Yeah, it was a really somber episode of Metal Shop. I still remember it.
Yeah. So, obviously Metallica will be talked about on future episodes, about their tours, about their albums, about, sadly, Cliff dying. And just Metallica from this point on is going to be a big part of heavy metal.
We did see Cliff live, too. So
yes, we did.
That's something that's nice,
Yeah.
We saw him open for Ozzy. Yeah. Metallica opening for Ozzy. They had all the crosses on the stage, and very cool.
That very specific show was immortalized on their Cliff 'Em All home video, where they had Master of Puppets live from Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, April 20th. You did.
I had to have known.
We watched it back in the day.
Okay, maybe I just have to be reminded sometimes.
Well, we're going to go now, and I'm going to put on YouTube and show Craig.
Yeah.
Where we were when we saw Metallica open for Ozzy in April of '86.
And that's going to do it for this one?
Yeah, that'll do it for this one.
It's a long one.
A couple minutes longer.
That's what she said.
Well, all right, so that's it. We'll see you next week. That's July of 1983. We'll see you next week with August of 1983 on the 80s Metal Hang, a classic heavy metal podcast.
So come back, bring your Aquanet, and see you there.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at the 80s Metal Hang.
That's 80S.
Where you can see photos in our weekly episode scrapbook.
We also have a YouTube channel with video playlists that pair with each episode.
And on Spotify, we have playlists highlighting the albums and songs discussed each week.
And please be sure to subscribe and comment wherever you get this podcast.
Oh, yeah.